To learn more, we headed to Western Wyoming Community College in Rock Springs. We wanted to meet the preeminent geologist in Wyoming, Charlie Love. His father and mother mapped out most of the state. They dragged Charlie along. This probably accounts for his love of everything Wyoming, especially its rocks.
All of these rocks were actually part of a little project that I had in which I wanted to bring the field to the campus because I had students who could not go on our field trips. This one is part of the Bighorn dolomite. And we've got a great big 9-inch macrorites in here, which is a huge snail. And right next to it we have about 2.5 feet worth of a chambered nautilus that was originally probably 5 feet long. Here's a great big snail in cross-section right there. It's a classic example of life that was living in western Wyoming about 430 million years ago. This boulder is something we call taconite. It is an iron ore. This thing weighs 10 tons and 50% of it is iron. And it was laid down on the oceanic floor in the Wyoming area about 2.8 billion years or so ago, plus or minus about 20 minutes.
Charlie brings a great deal of passion to his work, and it's infectious. Not only has he assembled a great collection out front, he's also put together an exhibit of life-size dinosaurs that once roamed Wyoming. These creatures lived here millions of years before human beings.
Wyoming was between the mountains and the ocean. So this part of Wyoming and Colorado and Montana and parts of Utah all contained the same materials shed off these mountains, and there were streams that went across them like so. The end result was dinosaurs fed on the vegetation near the streams. Sometimes the streams would flood, drowning the dinosaurs along them, and they would be fossilized right in the riverine sediment.
Charlie offered to give us a tour of discovery for fossils and more. He took us on a day-long trip. The first quest? Find fossil snails. This spot is readily accessible just off U.S. Highway 80.
The 1,000 vertical feet of clay shale that you have in the face of White Mountain was laid down in Lake Goseut. You'd be in the middle of that lake standing right here if it were 50 million years old.
Millions of shellfish died and settled on the bottom, forming what is now a white band of limestone.
The layer of snails is such that we have calculated there are probably more than 6 trillion snails.
There are plenty to go around, and there are no restrictions on collecting these mollusk fossils. All along the road are similar sites that are part of the same White Mountain fossil layer.
We're on I-80 headed west, and we're going about 3 miles west of Rock Springs, and we're getting off on exit 99.
Here we found something a little different. At the same time snails were moving in, clams started to thrive in Wyoming.
There's mother of pearl still left in some of these clams from 50 million years ago.
Fossil hunting is a good activity for a car full of children.
It's a wonderful way to have kids let off steam, because if they've been riding in the car for any length of time, they need to get out, they need to scramble around, and they need to have some incentive or motivation to do it. These fossils are certainly a terrific way.
Our next stop off Highway 80, the Wild Horse Loop. This remote 50-mile route sits atop White Mountain. County Road 50 is a gravel road, and there are no services, but the views are fantastic. Kiosks tell visitors what they're seeing. It's a great place to see the ancient migration path that Native Americans once used. They were followed by settlers and wagon trains who called it the Overland Trail. Then came the Union Pacific Railroad.
Then later, as automobiles developed in 1917, they passed a transcontinental highway. It was ultimately called the Lincoln Highway. It was built right literally over where the old Overland Trail was. And perhaps in the future we'll go back to using the railway for passenger transportation. We shall see how high the price of oil reaches before that becomes a brand new idea.
If we go back to riding horses, this is a good place to start. There are approximately 2,500 wild horses that call this area home. Horses are the symbol of the American West. It didn't take long for the horse to be taken up by Native Americans after the Spanish brought them here in the 1500s. some of these are probably descendants of the Spanish horses. Others have been turned out by ranchers or lured away by other wild horses.